I'm going to call our Monday, November 23rd meeting of the St. Joseph County Public Library Board to order. And first thing I want to do is go ahead and just determine that we've got a quorum. So let me go ahead and take the roll. And Marvin?
Present.
You're here. And did you receive the packet?
Yes, I did. Everything.
Very good. Michelle?
Right.
I'm here and I received the packet.
Okay, Augie?
I'm here and I received the packet.
Good. Christine?
I'm here and I did receive the packet.
And Terry?
Yes and yes.
Okay. And Ann's not going to be able to join us. I don't believe. She could come in later, but I don't think she's going to be on with us. And I am here and I've got the packet. So we do have a quorum. And then I noticed we've got some folks here that I don't recognize. So let me just make sure that I know if we've got visitors here. I see the normal staff we see. I see a David Height. Is it Height? Is it H-E? Welcome. So since I don't, are you a guest of the library? Are you with the library? Are you a guest? Are you?
I'm the manager of collection development, and we have a proposal we'll be discussing later.
Oh, great. Well, welcome. And I see Robert Kunder, or Ryan Kunder.
Ryan Cooter. I'll be presenting with it later as well. I'm a cardholder engagement assistant at SJCPL.
Okay. Wonderful. I don't know if there's anybody else here that I don't normally see. And it looks like Bob Masters is here as well as Jim. So I assume we have something that Bob's going to handle for us. If there's anybody else that's not normally with us that want to introduce yourself, that's great. If not, let's go ahead. And the first order of business, we've determined a quorum is in our board package we received. You all should have received the minutes of our meeting that was held on October 26th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, let me go ahead and take the roll. Marvin?
Aye.
Michelle?
Hi.
Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The minutes are approved. Next is our director's report.
Thank you. This will be brief. It's a big agenda today. You can see from our circulation numbers, our October numbers slipped a little bit from September's strong showing, but patrons still checked out over 94,000 items in person and nearly 50,000 digitally. And I think that's another indication of just how strong our digital use is right now and may continue to be once even the pandemic is gone. Reference questions across the board are up for the month. So that's in-person, phone, and electronic. And what we're finding is that a lot of people really need help with essentials in life. We're talking about job applications and unemployment and other forms of assistance, FSSA applications. It's all booming in all forms. And I think we're not untypical of what a lot of libraries are experiencing right now. We have about 5 staff members trained as certified application counselors for Medicare. That is going on right now. And so they do in-person and digital appointments, and they're taking on a lot of new short-term roles to help. So I'm really thankful for the frontline staff and what they're doing. Our regular services do continue to be limited and will be for the foreseeable future. So in addition to grab and go for materials, we have a few computers available, and we're doing a lot of printing and faxing for people who need to get forms to government authorities. With COVID numbers rising, we're also implementing new protocols for service, and that begins today. So just to walk you through really quick, we're just tightening up on what we're doing. We previously allowed medical exemptions for masks. As of today, that is no longer the case. Now everyone has to have a face covering before they enter the building, and we're happy to serve them curbside if they can't. We're imposing new computer limits. Actually, computer limits are capped at an hour a day, but what was happening is we were letting people stay on if no one was waiting. Now we're going to have a hard stop at 1 hour. 2-hour time limits are going to be imposed in local and family history and Studio 304. Those are where people need to come and do research. And we've allowed that to continue past 2 hours, but we're going to cap that. E-learning tables in the branches that have them are going to be moved to meeting rooms instead of being in the library proper, so we distance even more. We will stop allowing food and drinks in the library because with food and drinks, you have non-maskers. And so that's going to go away for the foreseeable future. Our final book sale for the year is set for this Friday. And then after that, we'll close until at least January 15th, and then we'll reevaluate. So this will be the last time we do a book sale for the Friends. Those aisles are very tight, and we just want to be sure that we can properly distance everybody when we do reopen. Also, our in-person outreach events are canceled. We were doing the VPA holiday market participation, and we were looking at zoo lights, but both of those will not be in person. We're supporting them in other ways, but we won't attend. And we're lowering occupancy limits at our 2 largest branches. That's Francis Branch and Center Township. The occupancy limits are reduced to 25 in those branches. And then to sort of on the other end of that, we're implementing a lot of new messaging. So we're going to start promoting curbside again. We never stopped, but it has dwindled. But now with numbers rising, we think a lot of people will return to curbside and digital card promotions and grab and go. Grab and go is very much like shopping, and shopping is one of the safer things that people can do. So we want to keep that going. We also have produced masking announcement recordings, and those have been distributed to all locations. That comes from an earlier suggestion box where it wasn't as critical, but now what you'll hear is just, please remember to wear your mask, please remember to wear your mask properly. And communications has been doing that. I'm going to pivot to the main library for just a little bit. Window framing around the main library is going in, and you can't see it because the boarding is still up. But when you're inside the building, you can see those frames and they look great. The window systems are being built by Precision Wall Systems right here in South Bend as well. So that's nice to have a local company. And Antonia, who's on the call today, got us a tour at Precision not too long ago. So we got to see some of those frames being built. The roofing on the extension is starting. So that's along Wayne Street where the tech center is going to be located. The team is really working to get everything under roof as quickly as possible so they can work on the interior during the winter. And then framing is starting to go up in the annex. If I heard right on the call last week, there are around 70 people working on the site pretty much every day right now. So we've got a good crew going on, and they're making a lot of progress because the weather's been good. That's my report.
I wanted to say that I walked by the site on Friday with my walk, and the rounded windows on, I think it's on
Michigan, yeah.
Michigan Street,
yeah.
Look gorgeous. I mean, it really is beginning to look like what it's going to look like.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
it really
exciting.
is. And every time I see it, I kind of get stunned by the mass of it. I mean, to see it on paper is one thing, but to see the massing on the site is pretty impressive.
That's exciting. So Deb, when you talk about us having these limits, like 25 people or whatever in a branch, so have we had any situations where we actually, so I assume we're counting, the security person or somebody is counting when people come in. So have we had situations where people are waiting outside, or how is that?
We really haven't. And I think what we're starting to see, even in our circulation numbers this month, is that people are starting to quarantine themselves again. So they're pulling back. We met with Center Township branch this morning, and what they're telling us is that a lot of people are getting stacks of books because they're just uncertain about what's going to happen. So they're preparing. They're getting ready to stay home again, or are planning to stay home, which is good news. I think for people moving around. But no, we really haven't had problems. We're just sort of making sure.
Deb, I have a question. I don't know if you can answer it or not, though. Have the public school students have access to, have you seen an increase in access of them to the library at all?
Not a lot. We do have some e-learning stations that are set aside just for kids who don't have a connection at home, so they can come in and do their studies. But we really haven't seen a huge influx of kids. They were back in school until this week, and
Right.
now they're out again. So that may change things, but not huge. No.
Okay. I was curious. Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the director's report?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let me go ahead and call the roll. Marvin?
Aye. I almost said
Michelle?
approve.
Aye.
Motion, Michelle?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. So the director's report is approved. And then for people who don't normally come to our meetings, just to clarify, is that normally we would do things with voice votes and the like, but because of we're doing the Zoom meeting, we've been advised by council we should actually do roll calls for all of our voting. So it takes a little bit longer, but we're being official here. Next item on our report here is our library bill list for November 23rd. Nancy, I see you're on. Do you want to do this part?
Yes, actually, this month is a very unremarkable bill list. These are our usual bills that we pay. However, I would like to point out a couple of items on the first page. If you look on page 1 of 4, you'll see several payments to Allied Benefit Systems. And if you look under the warrant number, it has the letter M after it. This is a designation for a manual entry. And this is how a lot of our vendors now are requesting us to pay by ACH or via ACH. So Allied has just made that request. Previously, down near the bottom, Bully and Andrews, you'll see they also have an M. We pay them electronically, and we also pay Ramza electronically. We are working to move more of our payments to electronic payments. We're having a few incompatibility issues with First Source Bank and our file that we're working through. First Source just updated all of their business online banking, and that gave us a few fits this month as well, but everything went through just fine.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I did notice the M when I was kind of flipping through this earlier today, so I'm glad you clarified that. Are there any questions of Nancy with respect to the register of accounts payable vouchers?
Move to approve.
Okay, the motion to approve the accounts payable vouchers. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. I'll call the roll. Marvin?
Approved. Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The bill list is approved. Next order is the personnel changes. I don't, if you want to go through this, Deb. Or somebody
Yeah,
else.
I'll do that, and Sarah can chime in if I miss something. You can see we're adding a few more substitutes along with being able to rehire some of our material handlers for busier locations, and that's good news, I think, for them and for us. You may remember we laid off 18 of those folks earlier this year, but as we've begun to be busier, we're really pleased to be able to rehire some of them. We already did rehire part of them as emergency subs, and now these are a few more. But I also want to mention, really sadly, that we lost Judy Traeger as a materials handler. She came back to work on November 9th and then passed away very suddenly on November 17th. So you see that as well on this personnel list. Sarah, did I miss anything that you wanted to
No,
mention?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any questions concerning the personnel changes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Second.
Marvin?
Aye.
Michelle? Michelle, your thumbs
Sorry.
up?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, the next order of business is report of special library board committees, and I'll just note that to my knowledge, there have been no special library board committee meetings held since our last meeting, so there are no reports. Similarly, I don't have any unfinished business that I'm aware of. Does anybody else have any unfinished business to bring before the board today? If not, we can move right into new business. And the first order of new business are change orders for the main library project. And this is a good set of change orders because at least the net changes, we actually are saving $82,000. So that's a good thing for a change, the change orders. So Deb, I don't know, and I see Anthony.
Anthony is here and Glenn is here from both from Bully and Andrews. So I'm not sure which of you will be presenting, but I believe you have the list. So
thank you very much. I'm happy to do it.
All right.
So just going straight through the list, we have Ostaban with a change of $6,392. This is for PR 17. This is the finished changes. We changed some of the floor types in the space for the annex and the renovation space. One of them being painted or sealed concrete in these areas. So that is the change for them. For golf, we have 3 changes for an overall cost of $3,272. It was an annex non-structural wall change, a credit for the mock-up panel of $660, and then the house facade window revision for $256. Again, the annex non-structural wall changes was $3,932 for an overall cost of $3,272. Structural steel services had two changes. One of them was a direct add from Robert Henry's cost. It was a back charge to Robert Henry for reworking the base plates and Southwest area. That cost was $885. And then they had a change for the Southwest Annex there, which changed the overall depth of the annex Southwest stair. That cost was $4,050 for an overall cost of $4,935. Precision Wall Systems had one change for a credit for the mock-up for a credit of $1,500. Solkowski had 2 changes. They credited back the allowance to manage the winter conditions for $100,000 and a credit of $5,000 for the mock-up panel. Just so that it's very clear, we're still going to be receiving winter conditions cost. This is an item that Bully and Andrews would prefer to manage opposed to having Solkowski manage. We have interior finishes. This is the change for the floor types for $24,052. TPC Technologies had 2 changes. One as a value engineering item for a credit of $140. And then they had an alternate that was accepted as well for a add of $19,053 for an overall credit of $2,087. For Indiana Earth, we are finalizing the ERS changes for $22,840, and then having them do some rework for the radiant heating slab for $2,197. For an overall cost impact of $25,037. Robert Henry had 5 changes. One as a credit for the non-structural wall in the annex for $2,308. They had an add to revise the radiant floor heat for $1,001. They received the back charge from Indiana, from Structural Steel Services for $885. There were two allowances that are not tabulated on here, one for the concrete infill and the other for the concrete leading edge work, for an overall cost impact, a cost deduct of $2,192. Shamba had a cost impact to revise the first floor fireproofing in the renovation space for $13,108. For the overall total changes for this month, we have a deduct, a credit of $82,087.
Okay, thank
You
you.
guys have any questions?
Yeah, so anybody have any
I have a
questions?
question. I do have a question.
Go ahead.
The winter allowance, I'm not familiar with that. What is that? And is that a temporary rebate that we'll end up paying again, or what do we got there?
So for the winter conditions, we have, for instance, the mason will need to make sure that he's working 40 and rising in order to install the brick. So it will be the temporary tarps and the water and the additional manpower in order to ensure that the grout is being applied at the correct temperature. We also have other contractors that will need to have similar constraints with winterizing the building, with making sure that we're able to continue work during the winter. And that cost, we would like to make sure that we handle effectively without necessarily having Zolkowski manage those dollars.
Yeah, when the bid package was developed, and instead of spreading it across 10 or 11 different trades, it was allocated to the mason, assuming that he might be using the bulk of it. So that's why we put it in his package for bid, but we don't want him to control that. So what we're doing is we're pulling it back into the library's control, and then we can allocate that. We have the funds at that point. There will be no arguments, et cetera. But Antonia specifically told you it is used for enclosure, masonry, et cetera, for all of those tasks.
Thanks.
So we may see change orders next month and the following months for other people that will have winter conditions going the other way.
Yes, and we'll make sure to label that so that it's very clear that it was regarding the winter conditions.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, are there any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve? And let me just say that before I ask for the motion, let me just repeat it just because of this. So the motion I'm asking you to do, instead of doing each one of these separately, we've got, looks like 10 of these. Let me go ahead and just, the motion would be to approve the change orders from Osterbahn and Sons, which is an increase of $6,392, and then Goff is an increase of $3,272, and Structural Steel Services increase of $4,935, and Precision Wall Systems a change order to have a credit or savings of $1,500, and Zolkowski is a savings of $1,500, and Interior Finishes is a savings of $24,052, and TPC Technologies is a savings of $2,087, and Indiana Earth is a change. It's going to increase their contract amount by $25,037, and Robert Henry Corporation change is going to be a decrease of $2,192. And finally, Shamba and Sons is an increase in their contract by $13,108 for a total of changes of a savings of $82,087. Is there a motion to approve those 10 change orders?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. I'll call the roll. Marvin,
Aye.
Michelle? Michelle's thumb up. I don't see Michelle. So maybe we'll skip over her.
I think she
Augie?
fell off.
Oh, she fell off. She had to go to another meeting. Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Terry? And I vote aye. The change orders for the main library project are approved. The next order of business, 9B, is a request that we approve of a new, or actually us consider the proposed pay ranges for 2021. And that those have been submitted to us for board approval. And I don't know, Deb, if you're going to do this, or Nancy, or
I will start, and then if Nancy needs to chime in. This is an annual occurrence for you. Normally in November, we approve all of the ranges for the upcoming year. And as I mentioned to you earlier, we are not altering the ranges. So we have some people either at or over the tops of their ranges. Those folks will be given a bonus at the end of the year, which will basically give them the same compensation, same amount of raise that they would have gotten if they would have spread it through all of next year. But that's how we're choosing to do it. And then next year, we'll really take a look and do the payroll study that we'd hoped to do this year, but COVID kind of preempted everything for us. And we'll get that done. But this is basically the same ranges that we've had that are in place at the moment.
Okay, so again, there are no changes in the salary ranges for 2021. So, but are there any questions anybody's got before we approve these ranges? If not, is there a motion to approve 2021 pay ranges?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Then we'll call the roll. Marvin?
Aye.
Michelle? I'm sorry, Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Very good. And then next month there'll be a proposal for compensation, I believe.
Yes.
And then next is we have a revised staff handbook, and I'll go ahead and I know this wasn't blackline, so and there's been a lot of, and I told that the reason they didn't blackline was because there was a lot of wording cleanups and things that there would have been a lot of blacklining that would have made it confusing, because it's not as many detailed changes as it would appear if it's all blackline. But there may be some new policies or some things that have been pulled in. So I don't know if Sarah, you're doing this, or if
Sarah's doing this. We do have some big picture things that we want to talk to you about. And the other thing we did, besides cleaning up, some sentence structure and things, was to make this non-gender specific. So references to gender have been taken out of this now, going forward. And we're trying to do that with all of our things. So Sarah, you're up.
Yeah, so the handbook went through a very large change. We devoted a lot of our lives to going over it, and just, it was always in good shape. It had the meat of what we needed. It's just over time, things develop into a lack of flow, or, why is this here? So we just moved around a lot of things and kind of just cleaned up the wording in a lot of cases. We did make some significant changes, less than you would think though. So let me go over a few of them. Some things were just internal that you wouldn't notice, like how we referred to different time off allocations. So that was just stuff staff would notice. But there are some larger things. We paid a lot of attention to diversity initiatives for this handbook. We added a couple things that we thought would make a big difference in recruiting and retaining people from diverse backgrounds. One of those was a bilingual premium. So people with verbal skills that are able to converse in Spanish or a different language or ASL, they will be getting another $1 an hour of salary. And those who have verbal and written skills who could act as a translator for our materials would get $2 an hour, with a cap of $2 more for those who have multiple language skills. And it really depends on, it's not everybody who speaks a language. Ancient Greek is just not going to cut it, but it's those that we find useful for our different locations. So they have to be approved ahead of time. Another diversity initiative that we took on was the educational reimbursement policy. Previously, we always did reimbursements at 50% for most classes that people would take. But we decided to cover anything that worked towards the mandatory certification that public service staff and librarian service staff need to take, because we decided to cover that at 100% and continue covering other education at 50%. So we could get people who maybe weren't going towards an MLS path to consider it because they had more coverage of those costs. Previously, you could choose to take community college courses or college level courses. And now people were more likely to take the college level courses if they're given that opportunity. So those were exciting. Another small thing, all retirees now get a fine-free library card for life. That's just something that we didn't do before for part-timers, and so we are now doing it. And then 2 cutbacks are reflected in the policy. And these are to align ourselves with what other libraries are doing, kind of best practices or standard practices within libraries, and just in anticipation of costs that we might, or budget reductions that we might see after COVID. And one of those is the Sunday premium. Previously, well, now actually still, we pay Sundays at time and a half for our employees. And we're going to do that as straight time going forward, so that nobody gets an extra little something for working on that day. We're just treating a Sunday like any other day. And we also have had the evening premium, where your lunch was paid if you worked the afternoon. And we're going to go straight time there so that you would take a lunch break during the evening. And those are all the highlights. Does anyone have any questions about the changes that we made?
Sarah, would we still be paying time and a half or after 40 hours, even though it's not dependent on what day of the week?
Absolutely. Overtime's still the same as it always has been. It has to be pre-approved, but we do pay more for overtime.
Got it. Okay.
When we started Sundays, we were one of the first libraries in Indiana to open on Sundays. And so we paid, and actually we paid time and a half for part-time. We paid double time for full-time. And we did it so we could convince people to work Sundays. And as that's gone on, and library service on Sunday is pretty well standard now in our profession, other libraries have never started that because they came on board so much later. So as we were redoing the handbook, we thought, maybe this is really the time. We're not open on Sundays right now anyway, because we don't think we could staff it with COVID. And so maybe this is just the time to stop, and then we'll go forward when we can open on Sundays again and pay straight time.
Okay, so that's a good clarification. So we're not actually open right now on Sunday.
We're not.
Okay.
We're not.
Okay, very good. So are there any questions that anybody's got regarding the proposed revisions to revised employee handbook?
My question is, has staff had any kickback, especially about, I don't know, the reductions, not about anything else?
We've rolled it out, but I have to say, I'm not sure that it is sunk in yet, and because of everything else that's going on. So we're going to make a concerted effort to walk them through it as soon as the handbook gets approved. But it's a good question, Christine. I don't know that they're all really tracking on all of this stuff yet, but we've rolled it out.
Well, I will move to approve.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Let me call the roll. Marvin?
Aye.
Michelle? I'm sorry, Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The revised staff handbook is approved. Next, we have the Music Village lease amendment. I see we have A. Robert Masters standing by. I don't know, Jim, if you're going to have Mr. Masters, young Mr. Masters handle this, or are you going to do it? Should we let
Oh,
Bob?
Bob's more familiar with it than I am. He's been handling it.
Go ahead, Bob, you're on. I see you standing by.
Thank you. Are you able to hear me?
Fine.
Yep.
Oh, I've never done it this way. I was at the courthouse at a continuing education seminar that went a little long, so I'm parked and speaking to you through my phone. So I'm glad you can hear me. And I don't know if anybody noticed when I switched on, but I was with Tony Luber, and he wanted to say hi to all of you.
I did notice Tony. I did notice him when you were out in front of the courthouse.
Well, he said he watches the live stream of your board meetings, and everyone's doing a great job. He misses it. But, well, I'm reminded of a story from the Second World War when Winston Churchill was asked by some government minister to cut funding to the arts. And he said, if I do that, then what are we fighting for? The effects of this virus on the arts have just been devastating. And the Music Village has seen revenues cut by something like 80%. I know the stature in which the library and the library board holds the Music Village. One of the more pleasant things I personally did during the first shutdown, my children participated in a music class through Zoom with the Music Village. What they're asking for is effectively a second turn of the same accommodation we provided in the early spring, which is to defer their rent for an additional 6 months. They would repay it by adding a proportional amount of the deferred rent into each rent payment when their rent resumes again, which I believe would be April of 2021. I would mention one item that I think is of particular importance in the proposed amendment, which is that we still maintain control over the lease. The library has a right to an early termination of the lease in the event that the Music Village space is needed for library purposes. So although we're once again amending and extending the lease, we still maintain that control over the facility. I've shared the proposed amendment with the Music Village. Their executive director, Josh Airy, has already signed it. I think I can speak for him in saying he's very appreciative of the library's understanding and willingness to be accommodating to the Music Village under what are very difficult circumstances. I know the Music Village is undergoing a very significant fundraising drive to create what would effectively be an endowment, but it's early days, and I know that in part because I was solicited to donate. So I think it's under the circumstances commercially reasonable. They simply just aren't generating the type of revenue they need to pay rent. And I don't think anybody at the library has the appetite or desire to see them removed from that space. I think it's more commercially reasonable to work with them, defer the rent, and then when we get through this, we'll all want the arts to return, and they'll be there for us. I don't think this is unique to something that public agencies like the library or public entities like the library are doing. I know commercial landlords that have deferred rent. I think of one client in particular who rents to a fast food restaurant. They were shut down for a very long time. He had to make the decision whether to defer or to work with them, and he elected to work with them. So I don't think this is just because you're a library and you tend to be more accommodating. I think this is a commercially reasonable request from the Music Village, and I'd ask the board to approve it. I would stop there. I worked with Ms. Corporal on this. I think within the executive staff at the library. We're all pulling in the same direction here. So be happy to address questions. Otherwise, I'll stop there.
I have forgotten, do we pay the utilities or are they paying their own utilities, and are they able to handle that?
Thank you, Mr. Rensberger. They do. They pay their proportionate share, and they will continue doing that during the rent deferral. That was part of the first rent deferral agreement from the springtime. Insofar as I know, they paid those utilities without issue. I don't think it's much, in particular if they're idled and they're not using the facility. So I don't think it's beyond their means to pay those utilities, but they've voluntarily offered to do it and want to continue doing it. So yes, that is part of the agreement, that the Music Village has to continue paying their share of the utilities, and I was remiss in mentioning that, so I appreciate the question.
And Christine, we'd probably pay utilities for you too, so that I see you sitting in the dark there. So if you need us to pay your utility, no. Oh, I'm sorry, I just looked up and I noticed you were.
Oh,
I
you know, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Feldbaum, but
that's okay, Mr. Masters.
When we originally negotiated this lease, I don't believe that Dr. Curtis was one of our library board members. And if I remember, Dr. Curtis was also a member of the Music Village board. I don't know presently if he still is, but I might suggest that he recuse himself from the vote if he is still a member, if that's not going to cause a problem with our quorum or voting majority. So perhaps I should put that question to Dr. Curtis. Thank you.
I'm no longer a member. I've been a member for about the last 3 years. So,
well, I think they're sorry to miss you. But thank you for answering. I forgot to mention that earlier, but thank you.
Very good.
I'm good. I'm good.
And then Deb, do you have anything from your, the library staff aspect of this? I mean, I think you and I've talked about it a little bit, but
I think they only add to the block and to what we hope will be the enlivening of that whole block. So I really hope they make it. I think we want to work with them.
Okay, great. All right.
Well, can I?
I'm sorry. I would just point out that this falls within the library bylaw requirement that there be 5 affirmative votes. And there are 5 of you there tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Augie. Did you have?
Yeah, I have a question. Sure. Deb, you say they add to the block, and they've been pretty, great by us through all of this, including what we've done in the past. Crazy idea. What would the impact be of forgiving the rent for that first period?
That's a really good question. We'd have to calculate it and see. There's a part of me that wonders whether they will ever be able to make up, all the back rent. But let us take a look at that, Augie. If there's interest on the board of possibly doing that. Again, I think we have to see whether they're going to make it, but I know they're trying really hard.
Yeah, again, that's my perspective, and I don't know how the rest of the board feel about that, or if it's even something that we can consider. So, and what the impact is, of course.
I would support that thought if the numbers they work up show that it's not doing us some harm we didn't expect.
I mean, the only thing I'm gonna, and that's beyond the scope of what we're trying to do here today, right. I think, and they haven't answered that. But we also have to consider that it's really, when we're dealing with this, we're dealing with public funds here. So we've got to be careful if we're, when we're dealing with forgivenesses and the like. So I think for today, this is fine. It would be my suggestion that we go ahead and consider this. And then I think Deb, you even said it, maybe we just see how it goes with them and what's going on. And then if they come back to us later on, or if we're hearing them having difficulties, then, I would think you would know staff would know if things are going on there. So
They've they've been pretty good about communicating, I think, when they need to. So I think we'll hear from them one way or the other about how things are going to go. And, I don't know that anybody thinks we're going to be out of this totally in April. I think it's going to look a lot better than it looks right now, but they may still have a ways to go.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? And if not, is there a motion to approve the second amendment to lease agreement that is included in our board package?
So moved.
Approve.
Okay, motion made, a motion seconded. And we do need 5 affirmative votes. So Marvin?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. So the Music Village second lease amendment is approved. The next order of business is the Boss display agreement, which I think we're supposed to approve this. That should have come before us in March, but with everything going on, it didn't. And then now that not only are we going to approve it, but I think we've actually got some additions and changes. So I'm not sure who's going to.
Yes, I'll do this one. As I noted to you earlier, we were working with Boss Display and had just gotten a proposal in March. And then on the 16th, we closed for the pandemic, and we really never did a full board meeting in March. And along the way, it just fell off our radar. We really thought we had done it. So I gave you 3 documents. You have the project agreement, which is dated February 26th and signed March 2nd, which retains Boss to do the work. And Jim Masters had reviewed this agreement, and his version is the one that was signed. And then we were going to bring it to you for ratification in March. And then you have an official quote for the work, which is dated July 23rd for $271,339. And our budget was $300,000 for this. We were going to use donated funds for it. And then finally, you have 2 items that we just added in October. We asked them to do a little bit of extra work, which brings the new quote to $274,747. So I think what we're asking you to approve, when I talked to my staff about it, I said, I'm not even sure how to put this on because, again, it got lost and we all thought you'd seen it. So I think what we're asking you to approve is the whole thing, that Boss is doing the work for us for $274,747. And again, this is all for the children's room. This is a company that does museum type fixtures and displays, and we're doing all the specialty fixtures through them.
By the way, I hope you guys, if you all haven't done it, you should definitely read through. It's like page 98 to page 98 to 104 are the actual little descriptions of all the different things that they're actually doing. So if you haven't done so, you should definitely read through it. It's going to be beautiful. I mean, it certainly sounds like it's going to be really cool, that everything you all are doing here. I guess it's indoors and some of this is outdoors too. Am I right? There's some
no, it's really all in the idea that the children's staff had was to start young children basically in a rural setting. So it was like a historic house in South Bend. The inside of the storytime room is going to be the inside of the house. And then as you progress through the space, you get into Tiny Town, which were buildings that can be explored and changed out. And then it goes more urban as you get over into the teen area and the tween area. So it goes from, the idea was from the children's staff, tiny town to big city. And we have been working very diligently on trying to get this all to come together, but Boss is doing the major elements in it.
I did read that over and was fascinated by the thinking in it. Where do you locate people that do that type of thing? I wouldn't have even thought of it. Are they local?
No, they're not local. They're out of Ohio. We actually interviewed 3 firms when we were getting ready to hire, and we thought Boss was going to be the best fit when we looked at their portfolio and what they had done. But they do a lot of work for children's museums, and we thought that was kind of what we were looking at when we were trying to pick a vendor. So,
great.
Deb, did they make the changes to the contract that were suggested in my opinion letter?
No, they did not. Oh, I'm sorry. They made the changes that you suggested. I thought you meant in the update. Sorry, Jim. Yes, they
Okay.
made all the changes that you wanted.
Okay, great.
Well, at least
Also, if I could just say, there are quite a few things listed in there in the original quote that we aren't doing anymore. So don't get too wedded to any of the ideas. Just get surprised when it all is finished.
Don't get too excited.
We, you know, one of the things that Rose Meisner has said through this whole process, and she sits in on every Thursday call with the full team, she said, it just keeps changing, but that's how a building project does work, that as you refine this down, you get better ideas, and some things work and some things don't. So yeah, but we really like the direction it's headed, and we're very close. There will be a bookmobile in the middle of the space based on our old bookmobiles, and it's going to be good.
Alan, I have to step away for 1 minute. I got somebody at my door.
No, that's fine, Marvin. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think we've got the quorum that we need for this. Am I right, Jim? Jim still here? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, but is there any further discussion before I entertain a motion to approve the BOSS agreement? Appearing to be none. So first, is there a motion to approve the BOSS display agreement, or the agreement we've got with BOSS Display, the project agreement, I'm sorry, with BOSS Display Corporation, as revised by the various change orders that are included in our packet? So motion to approve all of that.
So moved.
Is there a
Second?
Motion made and motion seconded. I'll call the roll. Augie is not here right now. He's abstaining. So I'm sorry. No, Marvin is. Augie
Aye.
and Christine
Aye.
and Terry.
Aye.
And I also vote aye. So you're approved. The BOSS display agreement is approved. Next order of business is the proposal to eliminate the purchase of music in CD format. So
we've had I'm sorry, Alan.
Go ahead. Oh,
We've had an in-house team working on this for quite a while too, and I'll reintroduce you to Dave Height, who's our manager of collection development.
Perfect.
And Ryan Cooter, who works with I just lost that thought. You work with patron engagement, yes, and communications. I just lost the thought for a second. Ryan's position is relatively new, and he's been working a lot with Orange Boy, our marketing tool, to really drill down and do some interesting things about how to both who's using us and how do we keep them engaged and all the rest of it. So you guys are doing the presentation, so take it away.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon. We really appreciate your time. We've been working on this for a little while, and as we've gotten here finalizing our materials budget for 2021, we would like to propose to cease purchasing CDs for our collection and allocate those funds towards our digital collection. We have some slides coming up. I think Rachel. We've seen the circulation of our physical collection decrease over the years, and I kind of go back to shot 2 or slide 2. Looking at circulation from 2017 and 2020. I ran January to September just to see where we were at, and even taking into consideration the pandemic.
So do we need to put that slide up? That you said slide 2 you want to go to, or
yes.
We're on the third slide, Dave.
Or did she? Do we want to go back?
Which slide are you looking for, Dave? This one?
The second one.
You want the one with the numbers, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're on 3.
Up one.
He wants you to go up 1.
Excuse me, I had a visitor too. who didn't see the computer and was hollering at me from across the street.
Well, you know, what you might want to go ahead and do is, why don't you just, if we don't have it, we can't get the slide up right away. Why don't you go ahead and just describe to us, could you, what has been just in general overview of how the numbers are changing with respect to people using CDs versus the online format?
So, well, we've had most of our physical books have decreased around just over 40%, but CDs was the biggest one, decreasing at over 72%. During the time, our Hoopla digital music went up 18%. So, and as we see more and more digital use, primarily through the streaming options, the library, of course, we provide Hoopla, even though it's not a comprehensive music catalog, it does have a lot of options. And then we've found that a lot of our patrons are now using the low cost or free services through Amazon Music, Apple Music, Pandora, Spotify, and YouTube. So the streaming services allow simultaneous and multiple points of use to music, and there's no waiting for the CDs or having to return them.
But now those streaming services, we don't provide that. That's something the patrons can do on their own, you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
And we hope to have seen more Hoopla music use, but the others provide so much more options. And everybody can get those apps directly there. They can with Hoopla as well.
Okay.
So another format bites the dust, sort of. They changed
Yeah, we're noticing that the physical discs are starting to decline a little bit. We've been in contact with our Midwest tape reps, and the studios they're waiting up to 4 weeks before they actually produce the physical discs when they drop the digital instantly. And so the albums are out there for up to a month before we will actually see the discs arrive.
We don't have any 8-tracks, do we?
Not any longer.
Yeah, but vinyl's coming back, Terry.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it a bit.
Hmm.
In Deb's, one of your notes, Deb, you mentioned the CDs and the fact that people often check them out just to copy them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, what can you do? But are there copyright issues that we've run into?
Well, there are definitely copyright issues, but what we can't see, we can't monitor. So back in the day, we used to have people who would come into the Sights and Sounds department, the audiovisual department, and just sit there and copy them one after the other. And we said, look, you have to check them out. Mm-hmm. We can't be party to you or copy. We can't see you doing it, but that's what they're doing.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. So Dave, you're going to tell us about what Orange Boy is, I suppose. I saw you had a slide on it, but even without the slide, you would tell us what our Orange Boy is.
Rachel, on the actual slide page, could you just on the left side click on the picture below the yellow one that you're on?
So I did, we can get slide 4. I did send a survey out asking which libraries are no longer purchasing CDs. And I did get several responses. Indianapolis Public Library, this is the final year they're purchasing CDs. They're not going to in 2021. Naperville ended at the end of last year. Mishawaka Public has not been doing it for a couple years now. And then there are some others that I have included here that have stopped 3, 4, 6 years ago. And then there were probably about 8 others that responded that they're considering ending their purchase. So, and this is just kind of the beginning that we're seeing with this type of format with audiobooks and DVDs possibly coming down the line in the future.
Cool. So
Ryan, go over Orange Boy, the stats you found there.
Yeah. So in addition to the data Dave has pulled together, I've been able to take a look at this matter using some different tools. In 2020, the communications department began using a new customer relationship management, or CRM, tool to help refine and expand SJCPL's patron engagement, and that would be Orange Boy. Orange Boy empowers SJCPL with valuable data tools, new messaging and marketing capabilities, and much, much more on top of that. So using Orange Boy, we will be able to see our patrons who rely most heavily on our CD collection, and we can actually reach out to them with alternative options, other library offerings that they may find appealing. So how that works is that Orange Boy breaks down our patrons into what it calls clusters, which are just clusters of patrons that are grouped together based on their type of library usage. So we can use that to engage specifically with patrons that rely on our CD collection, making sure they aren't left behind. So I pulled out one of the more telling data points from the data available to us in Orange Boy. Thank you for the slide change. So the data we're looking at here deals with one specific Orange Boy cluster, which is double features. These are just our patrons who primarily use SJCPL for CDs and DVDs. Using Orange Boy, we can see that no branch has actually had more than 5 patrons in the last 3 months whose primary library use is checking out CDs. If you look at North Liberty, one more point here. So these are branches with the most double features visiting them over the last 3 months. The left column shows the number of patrons checking out items, and going across the bottom, you can see the types of materials being checked out. So at North Liberty, there was none of the double features even use the CDs. At Center, there was 5 patrons using them. Tut had a little, it's like 7. So yeah, it's very low at all branches. Granted, that does reflect COVID numbers, but still numbers are very low. So yeah, numbers are low, mostly focused on DVDs, but of course, being able to see those patrons allows us to engage with them and appeal with alternative options and services. So back to you, Dave.
All right. So with moving to streaming, the fewer people that we have there, we feel that if we stop purchasing the CDs and allocate it to our digital collection, we'll be better able to serve our patrons in the long run.
And if anyone has any questions, we'd like to welcome those now.
So will these CDs be disposed of through the Friends, or what becomes of them?
We're just stopping the purchase of new CDs. We're going to maintain the CD collection that we currently have at this time.
Okay. Wasn't clear on that.
All right. Are there other questions? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve the elimination of the purchase of new music CDs for our collection?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Then we'll call the roll. And Marvin?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. We have eliminated the purchase of new CDs of music. And then the last order of business that I've got is Christine, is the library board resolution to declare excess withdrawn library materials.
I will move to approve that resolution to sell the Friends of the Library our excess book sales for the sum of $1, excluding those items selected by the library for the library sales and events, and that will include computer equipment declared as excess.
The motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? If not, I'll call the roll. Marvin?
Aye for Christine.
Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Is there any other business to come before our library board this afternoon?
Yeah, I do have one thing. I think Deb's probably too modest to mention it, but she's got a nice huge page right in the middle of the Drucker annual report.
So does Terry. So does Terry. We share the honors.
But, you had a good article, very good article in there too.
Great. Now, I'm not sure, now, Terry, where did you find the Drucker annual report? Or are you a contributor now? Are you one of their big funders?
When they did the interview and took the pictures, I simply asked if I could get a copy when it was published. And they sent me one. And I guess, did you do the same, or did they just send it anyway?
They sent it to me. Jenny, we should see if we can get some copies for the board.
Yeah.
I just lost
Maybe
Jenny, but I'm sure she's still on. There she is.
Maybe they've got a PDF you can just forward to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll find out. I can ask.
I mean,
they are very large.
It is very large. It's like 11 by 18 or whatever. It's huge.
Publication.
Yeah.
Too much money to spend. So, but it's been a good collaboration from what I can see.
Yeah.
It is. Wow. So, all right. So is there any other business to come before a meeting? If not, is there a hearing of visitors? Are there any visitors that would like to address the board? Appearing to be none. The last item, I know we've got some news and education items that are included in our board package. Do you want to mention anything about those, Deb?
Nothing that I wanted to mention. We had the Indiana Library Federation conference was last week for 2 days, and it was all virtual. We had a number of people attend, and the nice thing about virtual is that you can go back and pick up the tracks you didn't go to because everything was recorded. And our own Rachel Yike handled all of the arrangements for one of the tracks for one full day because they really were looking for people to help out with the tech end of it. And so Rachel helped with that. So we'll be seeing those reports coming up. I've heard it was very good. I meant to sign up and didn't, but they really took their whole conference, I think, and turned it upside down into things that we're useful for right now, right here. And I think the library community appreciated that. There's a lot going on.
Sure.
So you'll see that coming up.
Great. And we'll make sure we look through those. I know those, it's usually very informative. So so with that, I'll point out that our next library board meeting, our December meeting is Monday, December 21st, I'm sorry, and 4:15. Of course, the agenda here says Keller Park, but I would be stunned if they allow us to do that. So I assume we're going to be on Zoom again, unless the governor says that we can't do Zoom. So we'll assume we're going to be Zooming again on December 21st at 4:15. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And then let me just call the roll. And then board members, make sure you stay on. Deb, you're going to stay on. And then Rachel, are you going to flip it over to me to be the, or?
Yeah, once we adjourn, I'll make you the host, and then
Perfect.
I'll end the recording, all of that.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. All right, then I'll just call the roll to adjourn. Marvin?
Aye.
Augie?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. I think we're adjourned. Bye, everybody. Have a great
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you all very much. I really appreciate it.
Everybody stay safe.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.